We're Team Blue with FreshBox. So we're eliminating domestic food insecurity by changing our innovating distribution. So let's talk about food insecurity. Food insecurity, complicated graph. There's lots of problems with food insecurity in the United States. About 14% of Americans are affected by food insecurity. It shouldn't surprise us that low-income people are the most affected. But a more horrifying statistic is that children, it's blurry. Children are the most affected. About 1/5 of families with children are affected by food insecurity. So paradoxically, that affects childhood health. So children in food insecure houses tend to be more likely to be obese and have poorer health, and that contributes to the poverty of the family through medical bills, and it's generally considered to be a bad thing. But these are problems we can fix. Also blurry. There's there's a lot of problems, or a lot of causes for poor nutrition and food insecurity. People don't have access to grocery stores. Grocery stores don't feel like investing in low-income neighborhoods because they don't feel like they'll make their profit back. So low-income households will have to go further to get their vegetables. They live in what we call food deserts. And so their kids are not getting the nutrition that they need, and they don't have the money to pay for that nutrition, or they may feel like they don't have the money to pay for that nutrition. So these are solvable problems, and our solution is FreshBox, which is a box of vegetables that will market through a school system. So there's a picture of a box, and I think some of y'all saw and maybe borrowed from our food box as our prototype here, which contains about $5.50 worth of food, and it's incredible what you can buy for that. We are planning to market this with 4 meals worth of food, so enough food for 2 people for 2 days. So these kids can go home for the weekend and get nutritious meals at really low prices. So this is an enormous amount of food, and that's retail. So you can imagine how much we could get wholesale when we develop relationships with farmers. So our business plan is farm to school to table. So we're planning to develop relationships with schools and with farmers and with supermarkets so we can get the best prices, and then send those vegetables through schools and through children back home, so we can target those households that are most likely to be food insecure, which are households with children, and get food to them that is nutritious, healthy, and competitive with market prices. And there's a few ways we're planning on doing that. Advertising is one, putting advertising on our box so we can supplement our costs and keep our food prices as low as possible, and make sure that low-income families can get this box of food and save themselves a trip to a grocery store, which could take them a long time, longer than it takes us, because we have convenient places to go for food. And then we're planning. We've already developed a mobile app, yes, to market this so that it'll be available for everyone. I'm sure many people in here are interested in eating healthy, hopefully, it's so this can be available to not just to low-income people, but also to other markets as well. So ending food insecurity. Sick. Is this?
All right, let's get the nicely dressed team all up there. There you go. All right.
Team makes unique product, also dresses unique.
There you go. That's a good mantra. Nice job. So just dialing in on this model here. So obviously, getting this into schools is going to be the big challenge here, right? So I'm just kind of curious about partnerships you guys have thought about, ways to actually reach the schools, whether you're going to the districts or you're targeting teachers. What's sort of the go-to-market plan?
So yesterday, in fact, I spoke to Boulder Valley School District A through C. I had very interesting questions from all of them. Before I've been part of board for Share a Gift, so we donate bicycles, and through that whole concept, I've learned a lot of things about advertising, what you can advertise, what you cannot advertise. The whole concept basically is affordable box of fresh vegetables to low-income families, and making the whole model unique is the distribution channel. If you use schools as distribution, so obviously schools won't endorse our product, but schools will allow us to sell the product.
We've spoken to school principals.
Yes, I do have five schools who are very excited for our final product and are willing to look at the prototype, the model, and would be interested in a test market.
Have you thought about sort of strategic partnerships like the Colorado Education Initiative is kind of working on this mission? I mean, you thought about partnerships like that to kind of reach the schools?
Yes and no.
Why not?
Why not is because a lot of these strategic partnerships, there's huge amount of bureaucracy. So
Sure.
as soon as you start partnering with people, you change the model of the product. Not necessarily true in all cases, and that's where it's literally fishing in the water. You're reaching out to masses. That's pretty much what I did. I emailed about 17 principals. I went to Boulder Valley School District board meeting. Spoke to them at the public agenda, and then after the meeting, they started talking to me individually, and how they want to use and go with that. So, yeah.
In one sentence, define food insecurity so I make sure that I know what we're talking about.
People who have limited access to food. Morgan, you might be better at this.
I haven't looked at the definition recently.
Well,
but
just as it pertains to what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So food insecurity would essentially be families that do not have regular access to healthy and nutritious food at its core.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
To add to Morgan, it's theoretically college students are food insecure, right? Like I, as a college student, I did not have money to buy food. I'm in international student, so I could only work 20 hours. 20 hours times $10, including the rent. That's we couldn't afford it. Yeah. So insecurity by choice. You have food, but you cannot choose. You cannot definitely afford to buy the food. That's sort of an insecurity, in its own way.
Okay, I got you. So my next question, like Whole Foods being here, Whole Foods is the gold standard of margins for food grocery stores, and they run a little under 2% margin, and that's buying in massive bulk, and that's gone down from 3% in the last 5 years just because it's becoming a more competitive space with natural grocers. How do you, with such a smaller scale operation, have the ability to continue or to grow at all with that little opportunity?
So think about it. Whole Foods has. So there are two sections of business plan which Whole Foods has. Number one, it also is aiming that if you hold a Whole Foods bag, it's expensive. Oh, I love that bag, and it's the elite class, Whereas I go on Saturday mornings for samples, because I really can't afford it. Or too much money. So.
Let go of the mic, Smith. It's okay.
All right.
So what we did, we tried to brainstorm what we thought a family would be willing to pay, and we thought $8.99 would be a price. And I went to the supermarket to see what I could get for $8.99. That was just a random price we pulled out. So I bought all of this, which is enough fruit and enough veggies for 2 people for the whole week, Saturday and Sunday, 2 days, for $5.94, and that's at King Soopers. So that gives us a $3 margin, and I feel like it's an issue where low-income families don't understand just how reasonably priced produce is at that point. So $8.99 sounds really good to them. The fact that I can buy it retail for $5.94 makes we can maybe bring the price down to $7.99 or whatever. It's also educating them that going to McDonald's is not a cheaper option for them sometimes. Like we can bring you a FreshBox for $8.99, still have a $3 margin for distribution or boxes or whatever.
So I seem to have a theme of consumer habits, and because you just mentioned McDonald's, and because we saw a little package of French fries there, and I'm sitting here with some kale, that seems it will lose in the competition, and that the excess of whatever it is that people have done in psychology to figure out which particular fat, I mean, salt, those things are very attractive. And I'm just wondering.
It's delicious.
Well, it is, yeah. So what do you do? I'm back to the same question as with the other group. How do you make this seem appealing and compelling?
Right. So I think that, again, it's part of educating people that it's affordable, that you can do those sorts of things, but it's also partnering, like the first question that Dave had, it's partnering. There are currently a lot of after-school programs that educate kids on cooking. We're marketing this towards grade 7 and above. So children who can cook, children who can learn how to cook, learn about nutrition at home, go home to their parents, educate their parents that these are desirable things, these are better things. There's a big, I agree with you, paradigm. We're banking on the ability to educate people and make it desirable. But I think that's doable for sure.
And since you keep using the word educate, and I'm just wondering, is there a way of engaging teachers in this? We had a miserable program when I was a kid called Home Economics, which was insufferable and broke the spirit in hundreds of ways. But if it could be done in chemistry classes, or it could be done in biology classes or something, is there a way to make this integrated in a way that doesn't require some sort of extra outside the structure
We think
education?
so for sure. We think so for sure. And right now there are programs in place that are after-school programs. But again, once this is established, then yeah, teachers can start to teach that in the regular curriculum. I think that the possibilities are endless. This is just sort of scratching the surface.
I'll just make a quick comment on that. I think you guys have some options to help with kind of that marketing and sort of re-education. Like the USDA has a farm to school initiative that has grant funding specifically for what you're doing. So I'd really start thinking about that kind of stuff to really help re-educate.
I know we just ran out of time, but if kids live in different distances from the schools, is this tenable? If you've got the stories about kids with excessive weight in backpacks is significant, and if you're doing that and you have to take a bus and you have to connect on another bus, and how does it work out in the kid transport system?
Yeah, so that's part of why we chose like 13-year-old children, like people who are between like 12 and 14, like middle school age. So they have presumably the ability to carry the box home. We don't expect it to be a super heavy thing. So I don't expect that to be a huge issue. Yeah.
I have a question. Where's the protein?
We're trying to accommodate the nutrients that people don't generally have in their diets, the people that are unhealthy, people that have an excess of processed food in their diet. So we're trying to get all of the vegetables and all of the fruit and expect that they already have plenty of protein in their diets. Yeah, beans also a possibility.